everybody. You guys may know me from Omar's channel from Luck of the Irish Fishing Guide Service, and I am his wife, and we have been married a little over 11 years. And when we first met, we were at the grocery store one day, and he was going to pick up a box of something, and I slapped his hand. We don't use boxes in my house. We bake from scratch as much as possible. So the last 11 years have been an adventure in the kitchen with us, both taking turns cooking and baking. And so I wanted to let you know about some of the things that I have done. And today we're going to go over pumpkin puree. And pie pumpkin. This is about an average size. And we're going to make it like this.
Awesome.
And we were talking the other day, and Omar asked me, what all can you do with pumpkin puree other than pumpkin bread, which is what I use it primarily for. And I told him, well, you can use pumpkin pie, pumpkin truffles, pumpkin muffins, pancakes, just about anything, cookies, you name it. You can even do pumpkin sauce. I think there's a pumpkin peanut sauce for Thai food. So whatever you can think of, you can probably use pumpkin with it. The great thing about this is that it's from scratch. You don't have to worry about your favorite grocery store running out. When you stock up on pie pumpkins, either from the grocery store or pumpkin patches in your local area, it's easy. It's time consuming, but it's easy to do to make your puree. And you make enough and then you freeze it. Now this bag here is about 16 ounces. So this will make a pumpkin pie, or it will make 2 batches of the pumpkin bread recipe that I have. So what you need are, of course, pumpkins, pie pumpkins, not jack-o'-lanterns. There's a big difference. You want pie pumpkin. And these are just some old baking pans that I had, cake pans, when I was baking cake. So you need some type of pan. 9 by 13, these are large pans. To put your pie in, or put your pumpkin in. You can do your puree 2 different ways. I found this is a better way. It's a lot easier to do it this way than to cut it up and boil it on the stove like you would do like a potato. So, and I wear gloves when I do my pie pumpkins because my hands turn orange and it's really kind of hard to get all of that off. So you're going to cut it in half. It helps if you have a sharp knife. There we go. The trash. And then if you like the pumpkin seeds, you can take them and rinse them off and bake them with a little bit of salt. We don't do that. So I take each of my pie pumpkins and I cut them into each half into quarters. And when you're doing the pumpkins that you are going to be baking, you want to make sure they're all about the same size so that they bake evenly. There's a neat little trick I'm going to show you in just a minute. Because if you were going to boil this on the stove, you have to separate the rind from the meat inside. And that's a real pain to do. So,
Alright.
Okay. So my sweet husband went and got a fishing knife because mine aren't that sharp. This is a Pampered Chef ice scoop. Any ice scoop will work. What you're going to do is you're going to take and scrape out all of the silk and the seeds. You don't have to worry about cutting them like that way. Sometimes you just get a hold of it and pull it out. And there you go. we're going to do that. We're going to do 4 pumpkins today. So we're going to do that with all 4 pumpkins. And then once they're all done, I'm going to fill up both of these pans. And what you're going to do is you're going to do a hot bath in the oven. So you're going to put about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of water in your pan when it's full of your pumpkin. And then you're going to put foil over it. And then you're going to cook it in the oven. It takes about 1 hour to 1.5 hours at 350 for it to get tender. And then we'll use the ice cream scoop or a large spoon after we get it out to take it and separate it from the rind and put it in the food processor. So, gotta get busy. Okay, so we had some problems with our microphone, and what we are looking at is to see how tender the pumpkin is. And as you can see, it's really tender. And what you're looking for when you're checking it is you can see if it's cracked a little bit. And you want to be really super careful because when you take the foil off, that steam can burn you. Trust me, been there, done that. And it is not any fun. So you're going to, after you get it out of the oven, put it someplace safe on hot pads and take the foil off. And you're going to let it cool, but you don't want to let it cool too much, because if you do, it's harder to get off. I know it sounds kind of weird and crazy, but it is. And so you're in a kind of a catch-22, and that it's really hot, and your hands get burnt a little bit. Not bad burn, but it does hurt. It is hot. So just be careful of that. I use a really large spoon that I have, and just scooped it out. You can see me here in a little bit, and just scoop it out and throw it in the food, or put it in the food processor. And you want to follow your food processor's guidelines as far as filling the food processor. You don't want to overfill it, and you don't want to underfill it either. And also what you want to do is you don't want to throw away any of the water that you used while you were cooking the pumpkin, because you may have to add some of that water back into the food processor, because you want your puree to be thin like baby food. Not super thin, not watery thin, but you want it thin. So here we go, we're scooping it and scooping it and scooping it. And you can take, you see me, you can take and you can break the pumpkin pieces up. It makes it a little bit easier, and place one pumpkin slice over another to kind of let it cool off a little bit. And it's okay if you get some of the peel or the rind in the puree. You can get it out after you get through processing it, or you can get it out when you go to bake it. I have baked breads and pies and stuff with a little bit in there, and nobody's ever said anything, so it's not like it's the end of the world if you accidentally leave some of the pumpkin rind in. Okay, so I've got my food processor full. is just going to go, and I just do a pulse to chop for just for a little bit to get it moving around. And now we're going to puree until it is all nice and smooth, like baby food. You recording?
Yes, it is now.
Almost there. It's a little lumpy. There you go. It's a baby food consistency. Alright, we're going to put it in our bag. And you don't want to overfill your bags. I found this out the hard way. Because the puree is still hot. And so you're going to have steam coming out of it. And you have to close it. And just don't do it. That's not a good idea. I'm hoping we'll get at least 3 bags out of this, but we'll see.
What are you doing now?
I need a little bit more water. It's a little thicker than what I care for. Okay, so this is a little thicker than what I normally like. And I've already thrown out my water, so we're just going to go with it. And we're going to have about 2.5 quarts. Like I said, you don't want to... Actually, this is probably almost too much. I don't want to overfill it because then it will all seep out. Sometimes when you're putting the meat in and it's hot, you have the steam. From the puree, so you don't really have to add any more water. And the last batch of pumpkin that I took out and pureed was not quite as done. I mean, it'll be fine. So that's another reason why it's a little thicker. You don't want the puree too thin because then it becomes watery. And that will mess up your baking recipes more than your cooking recipes. So, like I said, a little consistency to baby food. If you use canned pumpkin, then you kind of know what to look for as well. If you want to use organic pumpkins, you can. It's the same thing. There's no changes to what you're going to do. spatula. So we have about a quarter of a bag left in here. And something that a friend of ours taught us is when you're freezing these bags, put a paper towel between them and they won't stick together because you're going to lay down on top of each other in the freezer. Sorry. Looks like I will be doing a couple of pumpkins one day next week because there's not really enough there to make much of anything, but not a big deal. So we're gonna let these kind of cool off a little bit, and then once they reach room temperature, then we're going to seal them, put a paper towel between them, and throw them in the freezer. And that's how you make pumpkin puree. Next time I will show you how to do bread and maybe a pumpkin pie. We'll see ya.